What's up, people? Hope you're doing well. I here working this morning. Well, it's afternoon at this point. At the park here. Thought I'd tap in, man. Had some things on my mind. Felt the yearning to share it in a capacity that I don't do as much of anymore here on YouTube. Man, I miss it. I need to get back on I'd like to get back on some sort of consistent schedule. I feel like I say that every video now. But what's on my mind today? I was listening to something earlier this morning, a preacher talk in a video, and he said something that really resonated that, I had, partially contemplated on before, or at least, realized in some capacity. And he said that, when he was on like a very disciplined kind of, like set, like season, if you will, he was much less sympathetic, right? And this, again, he was a preacher. This is all in relation to Jesus and the disciples and his process of discipleship and his process of walking with God and walking with Jesus. And he was basically saying how, in his journey, the times and the seasons where he had been more disciplined, he had much less sympathy for other people, right? And now he's more disciplined, and he was sticking to the things that, sticking to his disciplines the way that he knew he was meant to, and the way that Jesus was asking him. But I believe what he was getting at as well was, we're not meant to be perfect. We never will be perfect. And again, this goes with whatever faith you have. For me, again, I've recently stumbled into Christianity, or should I say stumbled? I mean, realized the knocking at the door that's been there for several years in one capacity or another. Everybody take a shot every time I say capacity. That's number 4. But anyways, we're never going to be perfect. We're always going to be sinners. We're meant to walk with Jesus and to accept his love and to do our best, by other people and the best by ourselves and the best by the world. And I believe that's what the walk with Jesus is like. It is accepting his love and walking with the faith to be able to give it to other people, to be able to be the reflection of Jesus that we are meant to be able to shine light on others by letting God shine his light on us and through our temple, through our body, through our vessel. And again, as you guys know, if you've watched me for some time, I come from a much more spiritual manifestation kind of background. Those are the topics that I've filled my brain with much more for the past 5-6 years now. Didn't really grow up going to church. I went a handful of times. I was baptized as a kid, but I've always had this yearning for a deeper meaning to life. I always had this yearning for a deeper meaning for life and an understanding of things that made it all worthwhile. When I was a kid, I told you guys before, my mother has certain anxious patterns that I picked up on, and I also think it's part of like an old soul of mine. I've always had a strong perspective and ability to see things in a large scale, right? Now, don't get me wrong, I still get caught in my emotions from time to time in one way or another, like all humans do. But I've always had this perspective that has helped me see things on a much bigger scale, right? Even when I was younger. And I remember laying in bed at night, awake, because I always had this insomnia, just thinking, right? Just thinking about a meaning to life. And throughout the days, and in 6th grade in particular, I remember feeling it all throughout my life, just searching for a meaning and not knowing a meaning for life, not knowing a reason for it all, right? I didn't grow up in a very tough household. We had plenty of things. My dad was always a provider. I searched for love and meaning from him, but I didn't, we didn't live in a struggling household by any means. Thank the Lord, thank him for all the work he did, and still does in that, in that way, whatever. But I was searching for meaning. I was searching for a deeper sense of life, like a sense of life that made sense, like a sense of life that made sense, right? I was searching for something that I could never put my finger on, and it began to cause a deep sadness within me eventually. And a deep sadness, a deep melancholic, lack of care, apathetic kind of feelings for life and for the world and for different people. And then that manifested into what I've told you guys about before, which was near-death experiences, drug-related incidences, gaining a bad name within my hometown with the police, getting arrested, being in handcuffs, shackles, bouncing my head off the asphalt after falling off a car hood, busting these teeth out, the list goes on. Until God sent my wife into my life. All right, in that time when I was in that season, 4, 5, 6 month, year-long stretch where I was in the worst mental state I've ever been in, and the worst state with others and people I've ever been in, he gave me what I did not deserve then, right? He gave me my wife. He sent her into my life at my first job, and we had this love at first sight moment. And we had some struggles getting started, don't get me wrong, but once we got started, it was sailing for some time. But, and I used to look at this from the perspective of the manifestation side at one point as well. And I was in a relationship before this for like a year, throughout freshman year. I really cared about the girl, and I ended up breaking her heart through some different situations. And I truly hated myself. That was another thing that added into this, dark season of mine, was that I hated myself for what I did to her and what I said I wouldn't do, and how I said I'd never be like my dad in certain ways when it comes to adultery. And again, I'm this young kid. Y'all, if you're older and you hear me saying this and you're thinking about a sophomore in a high school or talking about this whole like mental battle, right? You might, I don't know, look down on it or something in some way. But I mean, this is the reality of, the mind and the conscience level of humanity at this point. I mean, you have kids and students going through things like this. And truthfully, I think, like, say you're 40 years old. I'm 24. Let's say you're 40 years old. 20 years before I grew up. I think in a lot of the matters, like, you guys had it tougher when it come to, like, the emotional dissonance of the world. Like, nobody cared about your emotions. You just got over it, kept going and rolling, right? Like, I've had my own stretch with that as well. And I think in that time, it was more so like that. But what it is, the difference now is that kids see a million things every single day. We have so much more input, right, when it comes to information, right? Say you're that 40-year-old. When you were growing up, you had the TV, obviously, you had different things, but you didn't have as many channels, right, until 20 years ago. You didn't have, sure as hell didn't have the internet, or at least the same capacity of the internet. You may have had the dial-up and this, that, and the third, but you didn't have social media. You didn't have an algorithmic-based intelligence that was catering every piece of information that was putting in front of you every second of the day. You didn't have a cell phone that you could endlessly watch entertainment, gory videos, porn, you name it. You didn't have that. And so the sheer volume of intelligence, or should I say information, that students ingest nowadays, I say students, kids, people in general, but in particular those within their developmental process, it's an entirely different world. So you have kids like me. Again, I'm 24. I've been growing up for the last 24 years. And this was my mind 20 years ago. So you can imagine what kids now are going through when they're growing up in these even earlier stages with this technological infrastructure that is, a million times stronger in terms of the volume and everything else, and also the quality of what it's showing you, right? So anyways, back to my point. We trailed off a long way from the preacher talk, but it's all going to come back. I was just a hurt kid, right? And lost and all these different things. And so coming through my process, I learned to be disciplined. I fell in love with speakers and authors like David Goggins and the different Navy SEALs of the world and these different things, these different speakers these different ideas and concepts of don't listen to the body, right? You are in control. You're in control. Something greater than the body, something greater than the mind. It's your spirit, is the meaning, is the essence of it. And this is all, again, the way I've been looking at it recently, something I wrote about was, this is like the first stage. One of the first stages is, for many people, it's in a world that's controlled and manipulated. Everybody's body is manipulated. Their mind and their body is manipulated through this mass hypnosis, this mass information intelligence, if you will, that's put onto all of us, that there's no way to escape unless you go live off the grid. For young people, completely different. It's controlling everybody by their body. It's showing everybody all the different things that everybody wants to see, right? The porn, the food, the entertainment, all these different things. It's all stimulating things within your body, whether it be endorphins that are making you laugh and feeling like you're a friend with someone that's speaking on the phone, or friends with a funny video, or dopamine from a good story that's being told, dopamine from the laughter that's coming from a video, whatever it is. Or even cortisol that's coming from the news, coming from some sort of negative story that's got your eye and you can't take your eyes off of it. Whatever it is, it's all, or again, maybe it's sexual, right? It's getting your blood rushing, everything else that's happening, your whole body is getting put into that mode to go and do something, we all know what, or whatever it is. The sheer volume of manipulation that we all live in, it's almost like there's a grand awakening for young people in particular, and other people as well, listening to these speakers and authors and their message that then says, hey, I got to go and be that. I got to go and shut off my body's weaknesses and level up and control my body with my mind and level up. And I think that's an excellent thing. I think it's much better than the alternative, which is staying stuck in the same people that fall deeper and deeper into those habits. What I'm getting to is that the next level of it, which some people, I believe, don't see clearly and maybe never get the information on, is coming back in tune with your body and developing an awareness and a love and an appreciation and a understanding of your body. After you level up your mind, after you get in connection with your spirit and you allow your spirit to lead rather than your body leading, then you must take care of your body with your spirit. Comparatively, if you are just controlling your body with your spirit, you tear down your body. Over time, your body tears down. You have to keep that same mental strength, that spiritual strength, which isn't a bad thing. But if you're not understanding and working with the body, you're inevitably going to create issues. You're inevitably going to create issues that could be avoided, and perhaps even go against God's will, because and that could be the very division, right? For me in my journey, I was turning away from what my body was trying to tell me numerous times, when it was really God speaking through me to my body, speaking to me through my body. So back to the preacher, he was saying he felt that when he was more disciplined, he had less sympathy. And I think we can, again, that Navy SEAL culture that deny the body, we can get so caught up in that for the sake of that. Or we can get so caught up in identifying with that disagreements with the body that we identify more with the disagreements of the body than we do with Jesus Christ, than we do with our higher self, than we do with a never-ending love and appreciation and gratitude. You see what I'm saying? Right? When we are a Christian, we are identified with Christ himself. Up until the past couple months, I said specifically I'm more spiritual than Christian, and then it became I'm a follower of God. I still wouldn't say I'm a Christian though, but as I've worked and understood more of myself, this journey and what the teachings of the Bible is about, I realized that it's about identifying with Christ, identifying with not only the discipline and the discipleship, but also the love, the grace, the joy, right? Turning away from the natural sins of the body, the natural sinning nature. Turning away from all those things and looking to God to lead you, looking to the Spirit, letting your spirit lead you. And being in enough control with your body to understand what that is and how to direct your body within your spiritual control. and within God's light as well. So, anyways, I know this was we had a lot of different angles in this, but I hope it made sense. If you have any comments, let me know. Any thoughts? If you disagree with anything I said, let me know. I want to hear from you guys. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna get back on schedule like I feel like I've said 4 or 5 times now, but I feel like calling to get back on here, so we'll see what happens. Either ways, I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Stay heart-led. Work to understand. Appreciate to solidify. You got this. Let's go.